Yes, give me a few moments to set up. We'll stream it live. I'm sorry, my speaker was off. Dr. Manker, can we go live? We're streaming live now. Okay. I'd like to welcome our first official city council meeting of the year. We will go ahead and open the meeting. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Here.
Councilor Wandolph,
Randolph is here.
Councilor Holloway,
She will not be here.
Councilor Gore,
Here.
Councilor Denton,
Here.
Councilor Pelham.
Present.
Somebody's got their TV on again.
Mayor Bennett, you have a quorum, 6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. If we can go into the motion, is there a motion to go into closed session?
I move that we go into closed session meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A1 to discuss and consider personnel matters, including the interview and appointment of prospective candidates for city employment, city clerk, and appointment boards and commissions, and A4 for the protection and the privacy of individuals and personnel matters not related to public business.
Second.
The motion has been made by Vice Mayor Parton and seconded by Councilor Pelham. Is there a roll call?
Councilor Holloway, Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Councilor Gore,
Yes.
Councilor Denton,
Yes.
Councilor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Councilor Randolph.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, so I will go ahead and leave the agenda up and I will meet council in closed session.
Come on, sit down. Sit. Sit.
Oh. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think we're still in the closed session now.
Where are the boys?
They're in closed session, meaning they don't want anybody to listen to what they're saying.
Why don't go over there? It's more.
Oh, better over here.
Mr. Reiber, everyone can hear you on your microphone and you need to mute.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Qué foto,
Getting Dr. Manker on the phone.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Dr. Manker, if you could please allow me to have controls.
You have the ability to.
Okay. Agenda. Okay, we are. Council has completed their closed session meeting. Is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So
So-
moved.
Second.
The motion has been made. By Vice Mayor Parton. And seconded by Councilor Pelham. Madam City Attorney? She here? Please be patient while I contact the city attorney for roll call. Ms. Robinson? Is Ms. Robinson on the line?
Yes, Mayor Bennett.
Hi, so we have a motion to come out of closed session. Was made by Vice Mayor Parton
Okay.
and seconded by Councilor Pelham.
Yes, ma'am. Ready for the roll call?
Yes, please.
Counselor Holloway, Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore, Counselor Denton. Excuse me, I'm not hearing anyone. Are you all hearing the response for Gore and Denton?
No.
Counselor Denton appears as if she's connecting to audio. So it looks like a technological issue.
Okay, I'll just keep going and I'll come back. Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to come back through and ask again for the vote of Counselor Gore relative to coming out of closed session. Counselor Denton,
It still appears as if she's having technical difficulties. as if it's trying to connect.
How do you want me to call the vote, or you want to hold the vote until you are assured that there are no technical difficulties?
Well, if there's, how many were A's and do we have any nays?
Right now, we have 7 voting, excuse me, 4 voting yes. 4 would carry the motion. So the question is, do you want to hold the vote until Gore and Denton's inaudible situation is deemed to be technical or non-technical?
No, ma'am. We can go ahead and close the vote now.
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 voting yes. Counselor Holloway, Denton, and Pelham, excuse me. Holloway, Gore, and Denton were no response. 4 passes the
Holloway's
vote.
not here. Is her-
Counselor Holloway has been excused from tonight's meeting.
I understand, but I mean, do you want me to just not call her name? I've just called it, it's not counting as a vote.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's fine. You can proceed. I just wanted to make that note.
Yes, ma'am, thank
Yeah,
you.
because I thought you said it was a no.
No response. So I apologize if you didn't hear the word response. It's no response for Holloway, Gore, and Denton.
Okay. Well, thank you. Motion passes. We will go ahead and reconvene the meeting at 7:30 p.m.
Need to
And-
certify.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Your motion to reconvene the open meeting?
yes, ma'am. The certification is we're only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and identified in the closed meeting motion discussed in the closed meeting. Counselor Holloway? Vice Mayor Parton?
Yes.
Counselor Gore? Counselor Denton?
Yes.
Counselor Pelham? Counselor Pelham?
Yes,
Mayor,
yes.
okay. Mayor Bennett?
Yes.
Counselor Randolph?
Yes.
5 voting in favor of the certification, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. As I stated prior to this, we will go the small recess and we'll reconvene the meeting at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.
told Hannah, good job. I said, thanks,
It is now 7:30. I would like to welcome everyone to our regular meeting this evening. If you have a audio in the back, a television, or background noise, if you can mute your microphone. Okay. So thank you all for coming and to our meeting this evening. I would like to also welcome the visitors, and at this time, I would ask the Ms. Robinson to call and do a roll call. I'm sorry. Ms. Robinson?
Mayor, Mayor Bennett,
Yes, I am here. It appears as if I just spoke to Ms. Robinson and she is unable to unmute herself.
there
If
are
you
quite a few that can't. I see where Councilor Pardon cannot do it either.
Okay, give me 1 second. Dr. Manker's on the phone right now.
Okay.
Mayor Bennett?
Okay, I am There's a little technical difficulties with my video, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that with IT, and hopefully that will be resolved. Ms. Robinson, I did call the meeting to order.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I would welcome the visitors, and I would like to have a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Here.
Counselor Randolph,
Here.
Counselor Holloway has been excused, so I won't call her name. Counselor Gore,
Here.
Counselor Denton,
Here.
Counselor Pelham.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum with 6 present.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Is there a motion to amend, adopt the regular meeting agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
The motion has been made by Counselor Denton, seconded by Counselor Pelham. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Mayor Bennett, I think we need to do the prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Yes, thank you. The prayer will be tonight by Charles Dane, and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, led by Vice Mayor Parton.
Madam Mayor, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we first pause and thank you for our health and all of our blessings that we know have been bestowed upon us by you. We know all things come from you. Father, we ask for your divine love, compassion, and patience as we begin a new year. We ask for you to protect us and our family and friends from the virus. We ask that you protect all the first line medical professionals as they tend to the sick. We ask that you protect our public safety professionals as they attempt to assist and protect our citizens. And we ask that you protect our hearts and minds so that we do all things and only those things which shine upon you. Continue to bless us and to steer us to be your arms, legs, hands, and feet in this community, Hopewell. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to, is there a motion to amend or adopt the consent agenda?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda with 2 changes provided by the city attorney on the January 5, 2021 minutes. Page 2, SB 1, the word by needs to be inserted before Councilor Randolph in the nomination summary for Mayor Bennett. And then also on page 3, special business 3, word was needs to be inserted before seconded in reference to Councilor Denton.
Second.
The motion has been made by Vice Mayor Parton and second by Counselor Pelham. Are there any discussions? All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Aye.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Okay. Now I would like to move on to the public hearings for this evening. The first public hearing tonight is going to be from Director Griffin.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor Parton. The first public hearing, I believe, is the 501 Delton Avenue conditional use permit. Forgive me, I don't have an agenda in front of me. I believe that is the first.
I'm having an issue as well, sharing my screen. I'm working on that with the IT department. If
I just was verified, yes. Thank you, Mr. Leides. So I'll go on, Mayor Bennett. The owners of 501 Delton Avenue are requesting a conditional use permit to construct a fence above the allowable 4 feet in the front and side yard of a corner lot. The fence will be approximately 4 feet 6 inches. We did review this previously at a work session that you had in December. Tonight is a public hearing, and I do have some persons that would like to comment during the public hearing. They've sent in their comments, but just to give you an overview of the application, the owners again are on a corner lot at 501 Delton Avenue. They have placed a fence there, and we went out and did a review of the fence and found that it is higher than the allowable. And they're asking for a conditional use permit because the zoning ordinance only allows 4 feet fences in the front yard. This property is located in Ward 3, and it is in the R1 residential low density zoning district. Staff has reviewed this application and recommends approval, as well as the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on November 5th, 2020, and recommended approval. They verified the fence is not located in the site triangle, and they also felt the fence met the approval criteria for conditional use permits that's outlined in Article 21, Section D, subsection D of the Hopewell zoning ordinance. That is all for my presentation, but once the public hearing is open, I would like the opportunity to read the public comments into the record. Thank you.
Does council have any questions? I see Councilor Denton's hand up.
I'm okay right now.
Okay. I'm looking to see if I have any more hands, and I do not. So I will open the public hearing. Director Griffin, would you like to read the comments you received?
Yes, the first comments that we received were on December the 5th, 2020. The name is Mike Bujakowski. He lives at 500 Park Avenue. His comments are as follows. He is 100% in favor of the fence at 501 Delton Avenue. It has improved the appearance of 501 Delton and his home, which is behind it. It has improved the appearance of the entire neighborhood. That is comment 1. And then comment 2 is from Gadenis LP, and forgive me if I did not get that correct, from 509 Woodland Road. She would like to make it known that she has no objections to the fence or anything else they want to do because they have just came in and beautified the place. This was received through an email. And I failed to mention that the Reibers are participants in the public hearing. They are here now. And so I'm not sure if they would like to have anything to say, just to let you know they are here, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other comments than those are all the comments you received? Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. I've closed the public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the request for conditional use permit for 501 Delton Avenue.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Counselor Denton and seconded by Vice Mayor Parton. Are there any discussion? Right. Roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore. Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
yes,
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
yes,
Madam Mayor, the vote is 7-0. I mean, excuse me, 6-0.
0, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion passes. Moving to public hearing 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
This public hearing is from the owners of 3310 Norton Street. They too are requesting a conditional use permit to construct a fence above the allowable 4 feet in the side front yard. And Mr. Wild is on the call tonight if you have any questions of him. This property is located in the R1 Residential Low District. It's approximately 11,000 square feet. It's located in Ward 3, and the owners are requesting to construct a 5-foot fence in the front side yard. This fence, similar to the Reavers, are to keep in their pets inside of their fenced-in area. This property is zoned, again, like I said, R1. The Planning Commission met at November the 5th, 2020. They have recommended approval of the request, and they saw that the conditional use permit met the requirements of the criteria to approve conditional use permits. And they did not have to look at the site triangle for this one, for it's an interior lot. There are pictures in your presentation and in your packet of where the fence will go. It's not directly in the front yard, but it is on the front side, encroaching into the front yard above the 4 feet. Again, Mr. Wild is here, and if you have any questions, I'm sure he's able to answer them. We did not receive any public comment on this particular public hearing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm scrolling to the photos. Are there any questions? Council, does council have any questions? Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. There were no comments received per Director Griffin. So I will also close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
yes, Madam Mayor, I would also like to make a motion to approve the request for the conditional use permit for 3310 Norton Street.
Second.
The motion has been made by Counselor Denton and seconded by Vice Mayor Parton. Roll call, please. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry. I don't see any hands. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton, Counselor Denton, Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph. Counselor Randolph,
yes,
Madam Mayor, I have five voting yes and no response with Counselor Denton.
Okay. Thank you. I believe she's having technical difficulties at this time. Thank you. And that would be the end of our public hearings for this evening. We're going to move on to unfinished business.
Council.
Give me 1 second. Yes,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
this is Elliot Elides. I just wanted to point out, maybe Director Griffin could tell our guests for the public hearing that they can leave, and in case they don't already know, they don't have to stay for the rest.
My apologies.
That's okay.
That would, Director Griffin?
Yeah, so that's Mr. and Mrs. Reber and Mr. Weil. The city council has approved both of your requests. So you will receive a letter in the mail from the Department of Development giving you the approval and also giving you your next steps. So as Mr. Elides said, you don't have to stay on the line just in case you just want to, but otherwise, thank you for coming and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to unfinished business, UB1.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. This is unfinished business, the Hopewell Redevelopment and Housing Authority. It's a rezoning request to rezone property from R3 to B3 and from B3 to R4 in the Highland Park subdivision. The subparcels are 042-0095, 042-0195, and 042-0252. You have reviewed this application previously. As you recall, in December, you held a joint work session with the Hopewell Redevelopment and Housing Authority Board. There were several things that you asked them to look at. They've come back and provided a new voluntary proffer letter along with 4 other items in the packet. Mr. Tavares is on the line tonight and Mr. Steve Benham in case you have questions. But again, their new voluntary proffer letter is dated December the 14th, 2020, and it has an additional 11 new voluntary proffers there.
Okay. I will open the floor to council if there are any questions of HRHA. I do not see any hands at this time. Is there a suggested motion? Vice Mayor Parton?
So going through and reading some of these proffers, I'm appreciative that some of the input that we put in from the last couple meetings were taken into consideration. But reading through some of these proffers, I just don't feel like they fully capture a lot of the concerns that City Council has, and just doesn't have enough teeth in them, if you will. And some of them, I see here like on number 7, where it's mentioned the city will work with we, the HRHA, will work with the city to evaluate and mitigate effects of the development on the city's stormwater system. I think that it should not only just be just the site itself, but taking into consideration the broader neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood, especially if a development is coming in and you have several homeowners in this area. And I think that there should be some sort of investment besides just the site development that goes back into the actual neighborhood itself. Number 8 still concerns me that that it's mentioned that we'll continue to have redevelopment conversations with council. If this ends up going through and passing, I still think that it should be prioritized for Davisville residents, since that promise was made. And that's my personal feeling with it. I am really glad to see that there will be community space and supportive services that will benefit residents. And I'm glad to also see that there will be an on-site community center for residents. I think that a lot of that will, promote a little bit of camaraderie amongst the community and hopefully work to, improve the overall, the neighborhood itself. But one thing in number 12, I'd like to, at least, personally, that I would like to see is maybe, look at some of the models that are up in Northern Virginia on how they deal with affordable housing. And that was one thing that I ended up speaking with Chief Aspel about. And he said that, Alexandria, the city itself has a great model that they work off of, trying to, disperse poverty and not have it all, just concentrate all in one area, and especially right by the middle school. And then for the tree canopy and number 13, I mean, it's a proffer that's being offered that's already a statue for the city of Hopewell and its code. So I mean, I'd personally like to see something more like 15 or 20% tree canopy, and that would work towards improving air quality and also reducing overall stormwater, the overall stormwater flow on our aging infrastructure. And then, going into number 14, where it says we will provide adequate lighting on site and using energy efficient lighting to meet or exceed Virginia housing lighting requirements. I think it's great that it will be done for the site, but here again, it's a development that is going into already a well-established neighborhood. And I think that as a sign of working towards not only just redeveloping just a site, but working towards improving the broader neighborhood itself, that HRHA.
Vice Mayor Parton?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, will you please restate the last part?
Okay. It had to deal with the lighting, and that if, I like the idea that we're going to have very efficient and bright lighting on site. But here again, I'm of the philosophy that if we have a development coming into a well-established neighborhood, then what we need to look at doing is seeing what else can this development do to impact and improve the broader neighborhood and community itself. And so I think it would be a very nice gesture and investment for the overall neighborhood and community to look at other streets in the Highland Park neighborhood to work towards getting some LED lighting. And then I like the idea of prioritizing senior citizens and disabled residents from Davisville. And then the security camera issue, it says, provide security cameras on site. I'd like, some language put in there that these security cameras are going to be fully functional and operational before residents move in. And I think that that would overall help the neighborhood as a whole. And then I think there needs to be some discussion and some mentioning about portable housing vouchers for residents that are not able to move into this new development, and that we give them the opportunity and increase their chances or opportunities for the housing of their choice and not just restrict them to one locality. So those are my comments.
We already have that.
I am Dr. Manker. I'm back again. My Zoom was reconnecting and it kicked me out. So are you able to hand me over controls? I'd like to extend my sincere apologies for the technical difficulties we're having this evening. And thank you for your patience, no pun intended. And give me about 5 minutes. I'm going to contact IT.
I can hear you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, okay.
You have hosting controls.
I have it. Thank you so much. Vice Mayor Parton, can you let me know where we left off, where I fell off?
I'm not 100% sure where you fell off, but I went through the list of proffers.
Right.
And you just mentioned, concerns that I had with some of them, and then also ones that I agreed with and I thought were very beneficial for the overall neighborhood.
Okay. Let me see if there's anyone raising their hand. I see Councilor Pelham. Councilor Pelham, your mic is muted.
Sorry, forgive me. Yes, just to remind everyone that whatever proffers we decide, if this passes or whatever, it has to go through a public hearing according to our city attorney. So just be cognizant of that. I wanted to put that on record before we finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pelham. Councilor Denton?
Yeah, that confused me a little bit of what Councilor Pelham just said. So we cannot, are you saying that we cannot vote on this rezoning tonight if we have questions in regards to the proffers?
I would say that Miss City Attorney, would you explain to us, please?
Madam Mayor, may I answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, so if you approve the rezoning tonight, you must do so without the proffers, or at least the 11 new proffers that were represented as having been made back in December. According to the records that I see, the public hearing on this matter was conducted back in November. And at that time, what we know from the record tonight is at least 11 proffers that are before you tonight were not available to you on November 2020. And the state code requires that the proffers be accepted at a public hearing, and generally after they have been advertised as well. So since we know that did not occur since the December 2020 letter, you would need to continue the matter over to a public hearing if you want to adopt the proffers. Now, you can approve the rezoning without the proffers. And so whether you proceed tonight depends on whether you do so with or without those proffers. That concludes my statement.
All right, thank you. Based on the information of our city attorney, I know I'm not ready to vote. I definitely want these proffers into the record. And since we are having some questions even on these, Ms. Robinson, should we try to narrow this down through our discussion, or to broaden it to include what we would like to see in the proffers, and then have that a meeting to determine what proffers we want, and then have a public hearing?
Mayor Bennett, may I answer?
Yes, please.
Okay, so again, Councilor Denton, I'm going to defer a little bit to the preferences of the council here. I can tell you what the practices of which I'm familiar, and see if they work for you. But generally speaking, the negotiating of the proffers are substantially done outside of a public meeting or of a public hearing. And so it puts a little bit of weight on the staff to find ways to communicate through the channels, whether it's first through the planning commission and back to council. But there is a bit of a burden placed on staff. I apologize for using the word burden, but just another level of responsibility to get that clearly communicated between the sides before these public gatherings. Now, if that's impossible, then of course it can be done in a work session or a public hearing or a public meeting. But the key of this is these are agreements. They're not simply demands from one side to the other. And so to the extent you think there's some negotiation that needs to go on, sufficient time may be required to do that, and maybe more time than is available to you during a public meeting. So if you keep those things in mind, I think you can decide how best to proceed. And maybe maybe an option is to set it up for a public hearing, have the proffers that are presently in that December letter advertised so that people in the community who want to weigh in with their comments will be doing so from specifics as opposed to the sort of circular process that's sort of in play right now. But those are the suggestions that I can make based on my experience. So I will defer to you as a body as to how to proceed.
Okay. I would like to call on Mr. Altman. Your hand is up.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. So the discussion here revolves around conducting another public hearing. In order for us to have another public hearing, we will need to look at your February 9th meeting. In order to have met the advertising requirement for the next meeting, we will not be able to meet that to get an ad in play to run 2 times within the required amount. So we're just as FYI, we will be looking at your February meeting. And as the city attorney indicated, that would give staff a time to then meet with the housing authority to address any concerns that council has with the voluntary proffers that they have submitted to us in the letter dated December 14th. Bring that back and then advertise another public hearing to consider the rezoning, the conditional rezoning of this property with the attached proffers.
Okay. Vice Mayor Parton.
Yes, I'll make the motion to postpone this rezoning request to the first city council meeting in February to allow city staff to negotiate proffers with the HRHA staff.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I would like to hand over my controls to Vice Mayor Parton, so I can discuss something. My discussion is per the, is it okay if it would be the second meeting in February? I believe, if I was hearing correctly, Mr. Altman mentioned that by the 9th, it wouldn't give them enough time to run it twice as an advertisement.
Just for clarity, the 9th would give us enough time. Your next meeting on January 26th would not.
Okay, I'm sorry. I heard that.
That's okay.
I wrote it wrong. Okay. So any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Councilor Gore, Councilor Gore, Counselor Denton?
Yes, but I don't think you heard me. I'm sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. I've got it noted, Mayor. Excuse me, Counselor Gore.
Okay, thank-
Counselor Denton?
Yes.
Counselor Pelham?
Yes.
Mayor Bennett?
Yes.
Counselor Randolph?
Yes.
Mayor Bennett, you have 6 yes, no no's.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you to HRHA for being present at our meeting this evening. And if you had taken the notes, we can also send you a follow-up and we'll be in contact. At this point, you don't have to remain on the meeting. Thank you for your time. Moving on to regular business. Reports of the city manager. I will turn that over to you, Mr. Altman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Our first item this evening for council's consideration is a request to approve a new fee structure adjustments for the Hopewell Community Center. Mr. Reed Miller is on the line, and I'll turn it over to him to present the new proposed fee structure.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Altman. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. Come before you this evening to propose a slight adjustment in fees for the Hopewell Community Center. There are a number of reasons that we are pursuing this at this time. So I'd like to explain those quickly, and then we'll move into what those changes look like and how we think that will impact the department and the community. I think many of you probably already know that we are in the process of implementing a new management software product that will increase our online functionality, so people will actually be able to register online for programs without going to a third-party site. They'll be able to work directly with us for that online registration. They'll also be able to renew and purchase memberships to the community center online. And there will even be some facility rentals that'll be available through an online reservation process. So as part of that, we have to build out the entire membership structure in the new system. And we had the opportunity where we could copy things over, exactly the same as they exist now and have existed for quite a while. Or this was the opportunity to propose something a little different and kind of change things up as we build out this new software platform. So with that said, obviously in the pandemic, we've dealt with some unprecedented challenges. People are not able to access the same physical activity opportunities they had previously. We know that a lot of folks are suffering from not being able to get out and do their normal routine and engage in a lot of the things they'd like to do to stay healthy and active. So we're trying to make the community center as accessible as possible. We are open now. We are scheduling appointments for swimming and fitness opportunities with very limited quantities of how many of those can be made at the same time. But we assume as things get better, which we hope will happen sooner rather than later, we're going to have a lot of folks that are really looking for a convenient and accessible way to kind of get back into a healthier lifestyle. And we think the community center can play a very vital role in that pursuit for our citizens here in Hopewell and even our neighbors in surrounding localities. So we've proposed a new membership structure that makes things a little more affordable. Fees are reduced slightly. And I'll kind of go through some of the key points in that. You can see that on your screen in the 2 columns. There's a current structure and then a proposed structure. I'll jump right in and just go straight to the highlighted rows. You see the monthly option. If you look at the current monthly option, you'll see those prices are a little bit expensive. We've heard quite a bit of feedback from customers, asking if there was a more affordable monthly option. And unfortunately, we just didn't have anything like that available in our fee structure. So most people resort to what we call our daily fee structure, where you pay a small entry fee each time you come, and you pay a one-time joining fee. The problem with that is those daily fees are really designed to increase revenue, not necessarily make it more affordable for the customer. And you actually end up paying more money in the long run with that daily fee structure. So we've actually moved to a model where we eliminate the daily fee structure altogether. There are a few other issues we're running into with the daily fee structure. Things like, people paying that small fee with a credit card, and then we get hit with the credit card processing fee, which in some cases is greater than the actual entrance fee into the building. And then in terms of cash handling, the daily fee leaves us with a lot of small bill cash at the end of the day. We try to minimize as much cash as possible, particularly now in the COVID environment. So we're actually moving to a model that would eliminate that daily fee. And anyone possessing one now would be given a certain number of months to kind of offset what they've already made in that joining fee that they paid. But we're moving to a much more discounted monthly model. And you'll see the prices there broken down into resident and non-resident fees. The adult discounted membership type that is $8 a month for a resident and $15 a month for a non-resident proposed. That would include anyone over the age of 50, any active duty member of the military or any branch of the armed forces, and then anyone with a physical or cognitive disability that can be demonstrated by a medical professional in writing. So that's what the discounted membership is. And then the monthly adult is pretty self-explanatory. If you live in Hopewell, you can come to the community center for $10 a month. If you live outside of the city, you can come for $25 a month. That's pretty accessible, pretty affordable. Really what sets us apart from a lot of the private establishments is there will be no joining fee with that monthly option. And there is no contract to stay with that option or that rate for any specified period of time. And we arrived at that because we ran into the situation where a lot of folks, who live on a very limited income, they might not have the disposable income this month that they'll have next month. And they found themselves trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle, trying to use the building, but the finances just weren't working. So, under this new model, if you run into hard times and even that $10 or $8 is something you just can't part with, there's no obligation to renew for the month. You can take as many months off from membership and then just pick right back up whenever you have the means or the ability to do so. And then jumping back up to the top, sorry to kind of jump around, but those annual fees you'll see are simply just the monthly fee times 10. So basically, if you pay for a year's worth of membership, you get a 2-month discount, and you save even a little more money by paying for the full year upfront. So these are what we feel to be very accessible, very affordable. Let me direct your attention to the youth membership option in the proposed plan. For any city youth, that would be $0 for the year. So there is no youth monthly model because it's simply free for the year. We just need a parent to come register that child for a membership on an annual basis so we can keep a liability waiver up to date and personal contact information up to date and on file. That will offer access to the building for any of our kind of community center activities that we're planning. So for many, many years, the only opportunities or youth opportunities really available at the building were basketball or swimming. We are changing that currently. And, although COVID may present a little bit of a delay to when we can roll all of this out, but we are planning a number of structured activities that would be included with that free annual youth membership. They're not just sports, not just swimming, but it offers that would offer some other structured activities that may range from STEM-based activities, working with Lego products, to art activities, to history-related programming, just all kinds of things that we've kind of cooked up for whenever we can get back into a more normal programming model. But that is essentially what the current versus the proposed looks like. Although we are reducing fees, we do feel like the number of people that would take advantage of this, particularly once we get beyond the current pandemic situation, the increase in volume, we feel will level out the reduction in fees. And then that plays into a larger discussion of whether or not the community center and recreation and parks is here to generate revenue for the city, or if we're here to provide, services to residents of the city. And that answer has been a little bit complicated in years past. And, there are some budget implications where we are required to charge revenue to make our budget whole at the end of the year. But at the end of the day, we know that the services we provide are needed and wanted by many in the community. And ultimately, one of our goals is to make all of those services as available as possible. So before we move into the facility rental changes, I'd like to open the floor to any questions on the membership structure. If anyone needs clarification on what we're trying to do and what that would look like to the customer.
Great, I see. Thank you, Director. And my mind just slipped. Reed Miller, Director Reed Miller, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
At this time, I see two hands. Counselor Pelham.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with.
Counselor Pelham, your mic is muted.
I will yield back to the Vice Mayor. He did have his hand up first. I'm okay.
There it is. Okay. Vice Mayor Parton.
I was gonna make a motion and move forward. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has any questions that they want to ask.
Well, let me ask my question. So, Mr. Reed Miller.
Yes, ma'am, Counselor Pelham.
So you're saying that the students will not be able, don't pay anything for the month. They will always get in free.
That's correct. They would be free for the year. So with that free for the year, there's just no requirement to have a monthly option. Even if a child is only in town, for instance, staying with a grandparent, maybe in the summer months or something like that, they would just sign up for the free annual membership. And of course, it would be valid for a year, even if they only come for 2 or 3 months out of the year. But there would be no fees.
Wow. Thank you. That's great. That's all I have.
Thank you, Counselor Pelham. Vice Mayor Parton? I'm sorry. You were going to make the motion and then I see Counselor Gore's hand just went up.
That's fine.
Are you okay to have Counselor Gore?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Counselor Gore?
Yes, so my question is for Mr. Reed Miller. We've been trying to do this for a while in regards to reducing the fees and in particular eliminating the youth fee. So I'm glad that you were able to accomplish that because it was one of the big highlights from the crime summit we did last year in December. When we were talking about this past years, you said that there was a hesitation because of the revenue that you would be losing. So how did you guys remedy that in this situation?
Counselor Gore, we believe that the lack of revenue, and let me preface this first with the bulk of our youth participation in the building has been for basically just open gym basketball during our free time period. So essentially the bulk of our youth customers were coming in during free time, meaning they didn't pay their daily fees to come in the building anyway. So really the only youth fees we were collecting were from kind of unusual circumstances where maybe a child was coming in the building with a parent to swim outside of free time. But really kind of our youth use of the building was, I don't want to say restricted, but limited basically just due to scheduling conflicts, was limited to free time only. So our youth members really weren't paying a whole lot to come in and use the building anyway. They would essentially just end up paying that initial joining fee of $13 for a resident or $19 for a non-resident. So really all we're doing is eliminating that joining fee because even that, I know to many that may seem reasonable, but I know I've personally communicated with a number of citizens who, even what seems like a minimal amount like that can become a barrier to some families. So we felt like that really in particular, especially for youth, wasn't a huge financial barrier. And with the discounted pricing, which we hope will increase our volume of member, we believe that the revenue is going to offset. If for whatever reason that doesn't happen, we would be essentially asking for more money from the general fund to support our operation, or potentially be exploring other channels of revenue through facility rentals or other events and programs that would increase revenue generation and provide an offset to that decrease in annual youth memberships. But again, there's not a large financial number there that we would have to make up.
Okay, and thank you for that. We've been advocating for this I know Councilor Pelham Holloway has been asking for this as well for a while. So I'm glad to see that this can be accomplished. Thank you for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor.
And if I may, I would just to Councilor Parton's point, it may be beneficial just to very briefly discuss the facility rental piece. Really, the only changes that are being proposed there are to eliminate the 3-hour block requirement and basically move everything to just a by the hour rental. That's going to work better with our new software structure and the reserve at home or reserve online feature. The 3-hour block made things incredibly complicated, not only for us on the back end, but for the customer as well. So we are just changing everything to an hourly model. The only flat out increase you see is for the pool lane rental. The pool is a very hot commodity here in the city. We're one of the few municipal indoor pools anywhere in the region. We have a lot of groups trying to get in. Our pool time is essentially monopolized by our swim team that we have a longstanding relationship with, and they use up a lot of lanes throughout the school year, or the traditional school year, I should say. So that is going to increase. That's a little bit of a revenue uptick there that we'll see because the pool stays fairly busy under normal circumstances with lots of rentals and lots of special requests. So that's the only flat out increase just due to supply and demand, basically. And everything else is just an adjustment of kind of the model and how it's offered. I believe some of the room rentals may have gone up slightly with that hourly model. But again, that's all up to the customer on how many hours they choose to rent an interior space here in the community center. None of our other fees that you all have voted on in the past are proposed for changes right now. So there are no adjustments to pavilion rentals or athletic field rentals, anything like that, only the things you see here. And that's all I've got in terms of the facility rental piece.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Randolph, yes, you can go
I would
ahead.
like to make a motion to extend the council meeting. I was trying to be nice and let Aaron finish, but if he didn't finish shortly, I was going to interrupt. That's okay. We just normally have that 3-hour limit, and it would end us at 8:30. So we need to have a motion, which I'm making, to extend the meeting. And from my agenda, I think that would take us through R3, and there doesn't look like there's anything else on the agenda after that. So we need to extend the meeting to complete R3 before we end the night.
Second it.
The motion to extend the meeting until we're up to R3 has been made by
After R3 is completed.
After R3 is completed, has been made by Councilor Randolph and seconded by Councilor Denton. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Councilor Gore,
No.
Councilor Denton,
Yes.
Councilor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Councilor Randolph.
Yes.
Mayor Bennett, you have 4 voting in favor, yes, 1 voting no.
All right, motion passes. We can continue. I see Council Pelham, your
Point of
hand raised.
Point of order.
Yes.
That means the count is only 5. It has to be 6, doesn't it? She said 4-1. Someone didn't vote.
We all voted.
Holloway was not here.
That only makes
5-1.
6. Yeah, it's 5-1.
Just
Okay,
give me
I don't
1
know.
minute, count my votes, make sure.
Someone may have not voted. That's why you said 4, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am. Correction, the record, Mayor Bennett, 5 voting yes, 1 voting no, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pelham.
Thank you, Councilor Pelham.
Councilor Parton,
Yes, I move that we adopt the new Hopewell Community Center user fees as presented.
Second,
I have a question.
the motion has been made by Vice Mayor Parton and seconded by Councilor Denton. Is there a discussion? Anyone for discussion? Councilor Pelham?
Yes, Mr. Reed Miller, did you have any changes for the outdoor facility rentals? I know it's not in this packet, but are they gonna remain the same, or you coming back later to adjust those fees? I mean, I don't recommend you go down. I think we have competitive prices and maybe consideration to go up a few dollars.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, I would like to remind council that the motion on the floor is to accept the fees
Okay.
as they are shown, as they are presented to us. You have to either speak to the motion.
Well, it's regarding the fees of the facilities. I guess, Phil, okay. Can we have the attorney to rule on that, please?
Yes.
That be in conjunction with, would that be feasible to talk about facilities and fees, even though the facilities outside the building were not included?
The motion, Madam City Attorney, the motion on the floor was to accept the fees as presented.
Yes.
And prior to that, we had discussion or questions that were asked. At this time, does Councilor Pelham, her question is if she can discuss something that was not on the fee structure.
Actually, it is fee structure, just about the facilities outside of the gymnasium, the community center associated with the fees that we have for the outdoor facilities, the parks.
In terms of how it can happen, so I was focusing in on her comment that dealt with raising the fee. Is there any ability to raise the user fees? If she says that she's not in support of adopting the user fee schedule as permitted because it doesn't include additional facilities, then her comments would be in line with the motion. But if it's simply to open up a different conversation about why other facilities aren't on the list, I would say that that was not speaking to the motion.
And I will draw my comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I see no hands. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Councilor Gore,
Yes.
Councilor Denton,
yes.
Councilor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Councilor Randolph.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, you have 6 votes voting yes, no.
Motion passes. Moving on to, I'm sorry if there is anyone that has any background noise, if you could mute your mic. Okay. On to the next item, R2.
Madam Mayor, members of council, the second item this evening for your consideration is an ordinance establishing the Board of Equalization. Ms. Wagoner, our real estate assessor, is here this evening to discuss the proposed ordinance to amend the city code to establish the Board of Equalization and the process for appeals real estate assessments. Staff is recommending approval of the meeting this evening. With that, there is a copy of the proposed ordinance in your packet. Our assessor worked with the city attorney, Ms. Robinson, on the proposed ordinance. And I will turn it over to Ms. Wagoner for any comments and explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Allman. I hope you can hear me because I don't have visual. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Member, thank you very much for hearing this. I'm here tonight to ask you to approve a BOE ordinance that would delineate in more detail the appeal process for the city. As you know, every 2 years, my office reassesses the parcels in the city, and taxpayers can appeal their reassessments when they feel there is a lack of uniformity, meaning their assessment is not in line with other similar property in the neighborhood, or there is an error in their assessment, either in the land acreage or in the building characteristics, or the property, or the property is simply value in their eyes and more than its fair value. There is a 3-step process. They can appeal at the real estate assessor's office at the informal level, or they can appeal formally to the Board of Equalization and finally to the court system. As it stands right now, we follow the guideline of the state code, and the Board of Equalization, without having an ordinance, is like active during the entire year of the reassessment, which means that appeals can be heard all the way until December 31st. And almost every reassessment since I've been here with the city, we have had December meetings. And last reassessment, we had 2 meetings in December on the 18th and the 30th. That creates a lot of work for our office. We have the advertisement, we have to create abatement supplements, and technically, the goal is to have the value set before July 1st, so that the land book really needed to have all the assessment after the appeal process has been completed, and that never happens. So other jurisdictions have created ordinances that will limit the amount of time taxpayers can appeal to the Board of Equalization to like 30 days and have them complete their work by June 30th. So therefore, their lane book of July 1st, can be set with all the final values. The city attorney and I, she looked at the Code of Virginia, and she looked at other jurisdictions. There are quite a few that I just picked here and there, like Prince George, the city of Richmond, and Racco. There's a lot of them that you can look online, and they have Board of Equalization ordinances that kind of limit their work up to June 30th. So everything was taken from the ordinance was taken from the Code of Virginia, and Ms. Robinson can attest to that since she did that. Everything is the same as it was, every single year, every single reassessment in the past, except that we have limited the time to 30 days for taxpayers to appeal to the Board of Equalization. That will allow us to close and finalize the book. Hopefully, it will be done early enough that we can have it done before the bills are sent out, so everything is done. And that will be a great improvement for my office, and I think for the city. So I'm asking if somebody have any questions. I can go into detail about the ordinance. Any questions?
Don't see any hands except council, nope, it's Vice Mayor Parton.
I move that we adopt the ordinance 2021-01, establishing the Board of Equalization for the city of Hopewell.
Second it.
The motion has been made by Vice Mayor Parton, seconded by Councilor Denton. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Mayor Bennett, you have 6 voting yes, 0 votes no.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and you are free to meeting.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Moving on to R3.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor, members of council. The final item this evening on your agenda is regarding the funding of the Colonial Corner 4100 Oaklawn Boulevard, the funding of the cost of asbestos abatement and debris removal. This is an item that we've discussed several times. At our one of our last meetings, there was a request to update those numbers. We have received updated cost estimates on the asbestos removal, which you see on your screen is $39,700, and debris removal, which is $60,000, for a total of $99,700. As you know, we've discussed this, and the fire department will be searching for a very cold day in January or February to burn the building down, and then the contractor will come in and remove the debris. We are recommending that the funds, basically the $99,700, come from your unassigned fund balance. There's approximately $4.8 million available for use in that fund. If you have any questions regarding the estimates, Ms. Griffin is here with us this evening to address those, as she worked with Mr. Hawks, our building official, to revise those estimates. I know in conversations with Mr. Stevenson, who provided the asbestos abatement removal, he indicated, should council go ahead and approve our ability to execute contracts and fund the project, they could begin the abatement work this week if council so chose. So our contractors are ready, and that will be the first step of this process, obviously, is to abate the asbestos and remove that from the building before we can then begin the burn process and then debris removal. Again, any questions regarding the estimates? Ms. Griffin is on the line. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them, but I know this has been a long time topic of discussion for council, and we're happy to try to bring it to a close.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know whose hand was up first, Counselor Denton or Counselor Pelham.
Yeah, I just would like to go ahead and make a motion that we can discuss. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we give the city approval to move forward with the planned burning, with the estimates, the quotes that we have tonight, and move forward with removal of the asbestos immediately.
Second.
I think I heard Counselor Randolph second. Was that you?
It was me.
Okay, yes. So the motion's been made by Counselor Denton, seconded by Counselor Randolph. I see hands on the floor for discussion. Ms. Robinson?
Yes, ma'am. I just need to confirm the motion. I'm not sure if I got all of it.
Okay.
If you will, I'll just repeat what I have. Counselor Denton moved that we give the city approval to go forward with the planned burning with the quotes to remove asbestos. And that's where my notes stop.
That's what
that they need to have approval to start that immediately.
but
Right,
it,
ma'am.
but that's not, that doesn't include the removal of debris.
Thank you.
I had my hand up to discuss that.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, may I just restate what I have and make sure that I'm on the right page with Counselor Denton and her motion?
Yes.
Okay, move that we give city approval to go forward with the plan burning with the quotes to remove asbestos. Did you have and debris in there, Counselor Denton?
That's fine, except the recommendation is the planned burning, which I guess I was under the impression that that included the burning and removal, all of that together, since we got the quotes for both. But I have no problem adding that in there.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had it how you wanted to say.
Yeah,
it.
that's fine. That's fine.
Thank
Just
you.
with the removal and the removal of the debris.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Counselor Pelham?
Yes. Ms. Altman, how was this just given as a RFP, or how did, since it's a $99,000 item, or did you just get a contractor?
So Mrs. After we've had our discussions, Mr. Hawks, our building official, reached out to contractors to get prices for the abatement and debris removal. And if I remember correctly, and Mrs. Griffin can correct me, I believe at earlier meetings in this process, we had more than one quote that we had, but these were the lowest quotes. The low quoting two contractors that submitted quotes to the city. We didn't put out a formal RFP due to the cost, but we did get we did solicit bids from multiple contractors. And
So,
is that correct?
RFP was not required?
Not for the cost, no ma'am.
Counselor,
So it's two separate contracts, you mean?
Yes.
39 and the other one for 60.
Yes, ma'am.
But the one for 60, doesn't that qualify for RFP? I thought everything over 50,000 was a RFP. What is the?
I think it's 60,000 and below, if I remember correctly.
Madam Attorney, which one is it?
Are we asking what is the policy?
What
The
is
city
it?
policy or the state code policy?
The city policy.
I believe that there are two separate ones. 50 is the max. However, for emergencies, which I think at one point in time, the removal of this building was being discussed in terms of a public emergency. And
Not emergency, ma'am.
yeah, and if you look at the quotes, they go back to 2019. So probably at the time that those numbers were acquired, the building official was utilizing the emergency authority he has under the code, but the policy relative to our purchase policy is 50, as far as I recall. I can double check while we're in the meeting.
Well, if it is, I don't think it would be legal for us to then give the contract to the 60,000 person that was offered the bid. I would be voting against it if it is, because it sounds like we'll be breaking our own policy. I don't know what the state guideline is, but it's probably patterned after that state guideline. And if that's truly so, then we'll be breaking procurement laws. So until
I would like to.
Not an emergency anymore, because it's 2 years old, so you can't
Even
use
if it's not an emergency anymore, there's still issues surrounding I would like to hand over my controls to Vice Mayor Parton.
Madam Mayor, can I finish my comments?
You have to speak to Vice Mayor Parton.
Well, I was in the middle of my discussion. You had the thing then. So can I finish my comments? Somebody.
Yes, you can finish your comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
So again, if this is an illegal procurement, I will vote no. And I would like to know first, will we be in not voting on an illegal procurement without having an RFP done? It's no longer an emergency. It's 2 years old. You cannot deem it an emergency regardless of that is not considered an emergency, something that wasn't done in 2 years. I don't think any court in the state world would deem that an emergency. It's a bad situation, but it's still not an emergency. It's
So,
not-
if I may, Ms. Pelham, I believe, and Mrs. Robinson, correct me if I'm wrong, the state code threshold is $100,000. But I understand what you're saying. So,
all thinking and you believe in. Tell me what the books say. Tell me what the
okay,
statute.
so I understand what you're saying. So let me finish.
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying. So let's just move forward with the assumption that we're going to bid this out because 2 years has lapsed and it isn't an emergency. Then what we would need is council authorization to move forward with the abatement of the property, which is clearly under our procurement threshold.
Yes.
Then we could burn the building, and in that time frame, we could bid out the debris removal, which will be the last step of this process.
That sounds like a winner to me. I think that's the legal thing to do. I would agree with that. So with that, then I would like to make a substitute motion or have ask for permission to make a substitute motion
You agree to amend?
that we
Ms.
agree.
Pelham, would you be more apt to just amending the motion?
Either whichever one works. Amend the motion to include carrying out to do the make the action for the abatement, and as that is being processed, to go out to RFP for the removal.
Counselor Denton, are you okay with that?
Just for clarity, it wouldn't be an RFP, it would be a bid, not an RFP.
No, I think it'd be just a request for proposal. I think it's not over $100,000. So you don't have.
No, you do a formal bid, they'd have to bid, but RFP is a different process when you're seeking professional services and things like that.
Whichever one Mr. Attorney say, that's the one we need. It's a legal question. Can you help us out, Madam Attorney? So that we'll be voting something that's illegal.
The proper wording for the motion could be to simply put it out for competition. More precisely, an invitation to bid would be the mechanism to be used for this process, and it would ensure that the city got the best price.
Utilize those words then.
Yes, ma'am.
It's up to y'all to agree.
I guess I want to be sure that we can move forward with the burn. We don't want to mess around and get into the spring and the warm weather. We have to burn these buildings when it is cold so that it does not damage or put any kind of threat on the property surrounding it.
That's what Mr. Altman said.
That's why
That we would
Yeah,
take
if we can go ahead and do what I suggested and then bid, and while we're doing that, put out the bids for the removal and that be ready, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to slow down this process.
So I guess that means a yes or no, you agree with the amendment.
Is that all right with you, Councilor Pelham?
If you agree, yeah, that sounds like you agree with the amendment. Otherwise,
I
yes,
also agree with the amendment since I seconded it.
thank you.
we didn't make the amendment, right?
You giving me permission?
We're changing the original motion.
No, we're not. We just
We're amending the original motion to start the debris cleanup, asbestos, and then the burn. And then, as Mr. Altman said, to take it out for bid during that process so that we can get a bid for cleanup.
That's what I was saying. If you do that,
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. I just, as I said, I don't want to slow this process down. We need to move on with it.
Madam City Attorney, do you have the amended motion so that we all can hear what we've got?
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to get clarity on where we are in the process. So the original motion was made by Counselor Denton, seconded by Randolph, that we moved to give city approval to go forward with the plan burned. And then we included with the quotes of the removal of asbestos and debris. Once that was seconded, the discussion ensued, and it was in the discussion stage that Counselor Pelham made a motion to substitute, and it was Vice Mayor Parton at that point that said, do you want to call it a motion to amend versus a motion to substitute? And so the language that has come up since then is, what will be the motion if the body agrees for her to amend the original motion that was made by Counselor Denton? So we still have that two-step process to complete. Motion to amend the motion so as to include, going forward and to
exclude the bid for demolition.
To make it, as I say, make action for abatement while going out for competition or IFB for removal of the asbestos and debris.
No.
I have a point of information.
Yes, Mayor Bennett, what is your point of information?
My point of information is with the amendment, should we have a roll call to accept the amendment, or we can move forward and vote? Since Counselor Denton and Counselor Randolph accepted Counselor Pelham's amendment.
Well, I don't think the amendment's correct. I mean, I don't think that what
of
was
order.
captured is correct yet.
Well, first of all, Counselor Denton is, I thought Counselor Denton was being questioned as to whether or not she was in agreement. I didn't hear clarity on that as between her and Counselor Randolph. And again, if my motion as stated by me relative to the amendment is incorrect, I'd appreciate that being firmed up by the group before we move on.
If I can, the steps are asbestos abatement, fire, burn, and then debris pickup or cleanup. The first two steps are what we want to do now and move forward with. And during that process, then the debris will go out to bid. And that's the amendment that Counselor Pelham asked Counselor Denton and I to make. Instead of agreeing to everything to move forward, Counselor Pelham wants us to go out to bid with a new bid process for the debris so that the contract will be a new contract. Is that not correct, Mr. Altman?
It's my motion, so I agree.
Hold on one second, Counselor Pelham.
It's not his motion.
I didn't say it was, but aren't those the steps, Mr. Altman, that have to take place?
So yes, ma'am. The order in which we'll have to do this is the asbestos abatement has to occur before the burn can begin.
Right.
The burn happens, we have to remove the debris. So what we will do is while we are getting the abatement contract signed and moving forward with that work, then burning, we will put out a bid to receive quotes to do for debris removal, and hopefully they will fall in line so there's not a long lag between the burn activity that would occur and when we have the debris removal.
Right.
Well,
So that should be the crux of the motion.
yes. And y'all agree with the amendment, which
Yeah.
she still didn't get Ms. Denton's clarity whether or not she agreed with it or not. She's the one that made the motion.
Janice, do you agree with that? I mean, Counselor Denton?
That's what I've said.
Okay.
No, you didn't say. That's why your motion being amended.
Vice
Just for a
Mayor
point of
Hold
order,
on, hold on,
I said
everybody.
before, I think.
One person at a time talking.
Excuse me?
One person at a time talking.
I'm
Vice
just saying.
Mayor Parton, I can go ahead and take back the controls.
I mean, I let Councilor Randolph speak, but I thought I still had the floor because I made the original amendment, correct? Do I not? Mr. Parton,
Are you,
You don't have, I'm sorry, I'm back. I'm going to go ahead and take controls back. So I wanted to discuss, but I think we're going down another road. So you did have the amendment. It was agreed, accepted by Counselor Denton and Counselor Randolph, who made the motion and second. They accepted your amendment. Now, I would ask the city attorney if she could go ahead and read that amendment again so that we're all on the same page, and then we can go ahead and do a roll call for council to yay or nay the amendment, for you to make that amendment.
the motion is to move forward to the burn, to begin the burn with the asbestos abatement preceding the burn, because that is required. And when the burn is in process, put out a bid for the removal of the debris.
That's fine with me.
Okay, and can we have a roll call, please?
is there any further discussion?
If you're speaking to the motion, yes. I mean, we were discussing this for you had over 7 minutes.
No limit, but 3 times to speak, right? I didn't get my
Up
third.
to 10 minutes,
Say again?
up to 10 minutes total.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. And so, I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you. Counselor Denton, do you have something to say? You have your hand up? All right, a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Parton,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton, Counselor Denton, Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes, my mic was muted. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am, I got you. Mayor Bennett,
I said yes.
Yeah.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Mayor Bennett, you have 6 votes voting yes, no nos.
Okay, motion passed, and we don't have to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a comment. May I take a comment or report information, whatever y'all call it?
The
I would
motion.
like my comment. I would just like the comments that I made on this subject to be written out in the minutes.
Which comments are those?
All the comments related to this this R3 item.
Okay, it's a privilege to have all the comments added. Counselor Pelham, so if you can be more specific, if you say all of them, there were a lot of.
All the comments that Brenda Pelham made regarding the R3 subject, please add it to the written part of the minutes.
I will approve that.
Thank you.
May I say something too in regards to that? I think that anytime that a counselor says that we're doing something illegal, before it gets recorded into the minutes, we better check to make sure that it really was illegal before we put that in our records, that it was just not based on facts or positive facts. I
Point-
would have no problem if
Madam Mayor, point of order.
Your point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking me, or would you like to address the city attorney?
I have a point of information first. This was R3, correct?
That is correct.
And we made a motion to adjourn after R3, so the discussion is because we're supposed to be adjourning, correct?
Thank you, Counselor Gore. Thank you so much. The meeting has been adjourned.
Thank you. Good night, y'all.
Good night.